So I'm here with Dustin Peyer. He's running against Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota. He's a senatorial candidate. He's from the Democratic Nonpartisan League. So that's something that I had never heard of before. So first, to those of you who haven't heard of that before, just kind of give us a brief rundown of what the Nonpartisan League is, a little bit of its history, just a little synopsis to catch everybody up. And then I want you to explain why you felt like that was the best option to go.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nonpartisan League was created back around 1908 by a man called Arthur Townley, and he was fired by the Socialist Party of America, and he basically laughed at him, and then he left, took his flax farm royalties, and started the Nonpartisan League. And what they did was they stayed out of the Republicans, they stayed out of the Democrats, and they put people first ideas, and they got people elected. And by 1918, they had a governor who would sign the women's suffrage bill. They had a governor who created the state bank, the mill and elevator, because farmers were continuously getting ripped off. They created worker safety insurance, state hail insurance. All these people first ideas and farmer and rancher community first ideas. Fast forward a little bit to about the 50s, the Democratic Party and the Nonpartisan League started working together. And then in about the late 50s, they merged and became the Nonpartisan League Democrats. And then about 20 or 30 so years later, it switched, became the Democratic NPL. And at that point, the NPL basically dissolved their executive board, and they were really just part of the Democrats. And
Hmm.
a lot of nonpartisan leaguers went silent. They became disenfranchised. And then what happened was this great guy, you might have heard of him, Mr. Bernie Sanders, came to North Dakota and took the state by storm. Over 60% of the presidential caucus. He had an amazing turnout in Bismarck when he came and spoke to the people, and all these people started coming back, and new first timers and old timers, and we came together and we learned about the Nonpartisan League. I didn't know what it was, and we learned about it, and now April 9th of last year, we had the Democratic Party North Dakota state reorganization, where a group of folks met and said, we're bringing back the Nonpartisan League. Since then, it's been an incredible journey. And on Friday morning, we're going to make a proposal to the Democratic Party to allow the Nonpartisan League to restart, to reoperate within, to push people first ballot measures and ideas, and try to grow this party. There's without, it's not without its backlash, of course, but that's the short, very, very, very short history of the NPL, and some recent history. And I feel like I'm a nonpartisan leaguer because, I am not a loyalist to any political affiliation. I vote across party lines. I vote all over. And really, we just need people who are going to represent us. Like I say, people who are going to support these people first measures we're bringing forward, and things like that. So, I mean, that's how I feel I fit in with the Nonpartisan League.
So Heitkamp is the Democrat, obviously in the race. I know sometimes it's hard to see her apart from the Republicans because she votes with the Republicans so often. She not helps confirm Trump appointees at a very large percent of the time. She's one of the corporate establishment Democrats, and actually she's one of the more conservative Democrats that we have. So now the Democratic Party obviously probably does not like your challenge because I think they believe that, oh no, we have to be conservative in order to run in North Dakota because, I mean, conservatives, Republicans, well, they run that area, and the people are very, very conservative. So what would you say to that? I mean, are the people of North Dakota all that conservative? Do they have a point, or do you think that running on more progressive ideas and actually putting ideas first instead of just party loyalty is a winning ticket?
Yeah, absolutely. There's party loyalty, and I'm a district chair for the state party, and I'm proud of that. But DNC loyalty is a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that person, but you know, with Heidi Heitkamp, you're right. I mean, there is a Republican convention in North Dakota, and if you want to support judges who are against immigration, and you want to support EPA leaders who don't believe in climate change, there's a convention for that. And the Democratic Party and they get behind this corporate backing, and they believe that in red states like North Dakota, that we have to take conservative issues to get people to vote for us. Well, what I would say is 40% of the state doesn't vote at all. Why are we focusing on um, conservative voters and people who supported Trump? A lot of them may not change their mind. Why don't we figure out why these 40% who could overrule both parties in a heartbeat, why don't we talk to them and find out why they don't vote? Um, I think that's the biggest issue. And I think that the other best part about North Dakota is we have no voter registration. We're the only state, no voter registration. And the people here are so proud of that. They love it. And we pass things like medical marijuana. We pass things like creation of the legacy fund. We pass things that say we don't want our income taxes reduced. And every single time, either the Republican supermajority or the two-party system gets together and they don't listen to what the measures that we're passing, and it's just incredible. And I think that I've talked to a lot of people in the oil field. I was a frack water recycler myself. I've worked in the oil field. We all have the training. We all know it's dangerous. We all know it's not the best thing for the environment. And it really comes more down to jobs. Like that same person who's working on a derrick or a rig site, he has no issues with climbing a wind tower either, because he just wants to go to work. People just want to work, and that's why they come to North Dakota, because we have a great ag economy and all these other things. But in the end, I think people just want to work, and what we're doing is we're focusing on the noise that comes out of the establishment, both parties, the money that they put into these candidates, the commercials, the radio ads, and really we're forgetting about the middle class that is shrinking more and more and more. And basically, these people are just, we don't know who to vote for anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a really I think that's a really important part about the jobs, because we hear this in West Virginia as well. West Virginia is a big coal state, and look, people, yes, they're proud because they work in the coal mines because it's hard. Same thing in the oil fields; it's a very, very difficult job. But at the end of the day, I mean, people just want to have a good job where they get paid enough. The problem that in West Virginia, to kind of tie your two states together, is that the other kinds of jobs that pay just as well don't exist. So oil has kind of built up, I guess, a chain of industries that are connected to it. But oil is probably the best paying in the area because it's so dangerous, and that makes sense. But you could replace oil with something that is for example, a solar farm, wind farms, and things like that. And not only are those jobs, you could make them pay just as well, but there would also be less dangerous, and also would be better for the environment, and wouldn't pollute waterways and rivers, streams, etc., pollute the land, or put all that carbon into the atmosphere and exacerbate climate change. And that's what we should be doing. But unfortunately, of course, look, and this is a theme we keep on hitting on. Money in politics, corruption, legalized bribery in the form of campaign donations, super PACs, regular PACs, things like that. But when you get past that and when you actually go and appeal to the voter, from what I'm getting is that you're having a positive reception from people in your state when you actually bring them ideas. And I'm assuming also telling them that, hey, I'm not part of that two-party system. I believe in ideas, and I believe in ideas to help your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, with what we talked about earlier, with giving coal our big subsidy, and then them turning around and giving that carbon they capture with our money, giving it to the hydraulic fracturing industry, my electric bill has never went down ever. So why are we putting money into that when if you would put money into the citizens and let us reduce our electric bills by solar, on-site wind, and other models, then we guess what? We don't have to work as hard. Sending people to two jobs, or you have to get that big oil field job because we have bills to pay, and our health insurance is through the roof. Obamacare is failing, and it is a failure, and all these things keep building up, and we're told to just work harder, just put in that overtime, just get that second job. And it's like, our bills are not going down, our groceries are not getting cheaper. Everything just continues to go up, and it's forcing us to work more and more. We need to start getting the citizens back to a level where they can sustain themselves off of one job, or maybe both parents have to work, but to the point where you can actually have a life. You can go to your kids' baseball games. You don't have to worry so much about where is the money going to come for your electric bill that's went up 6% every 6 months for the last 6 years. Your lot rent in your mobile home parks, that's almost $400 a month now in Bismarck, North Dakota. I mean, that's crazy. We continue to give our money to the top, and we're not investing in the middle class, and that's where we're going wrong.
And I think that's an issue that is that's not unique to North Dakota. I think we see that in a lot of different places. But I want to ask you if there's an issue, a specific issue that you hear a lot about on the campaign trail from your fellow North Dakotans. It's something that is more unique to your state, and something that that people bring up to you that you want to do something about. For example, in Michigan, we have an issue with potholes. We got huge potholes. We got the worst roads in the nation. And another example is we have the highest car insurance rates in the country. So, those are the issues that we have in our state. What are some of the issues that you hear about in your state?
Well, in North Dakota, basically what's happening is the townships, like ones such that I live in, they're 6 miles by 6 miles. These places used to be the heartbeat of North Dakota. They used to have hundreds of people. Like the town I lived in used to have a lumber mill, 2 bars, a cafe, like 20 some businesses, I think, when I talked to the older generation. And now there's 30 people there, folks that are trying to survive off Social Security. Their property taxes. Property taxes is one of the main issues in North Dakota. Forcing people to pay the government for something that they have earned by working their entire life is wrong. And property taxes in this state have gone through the roof. And what they did was the state legislators kept giving all these giveaways. They lowered corporate taxes in North Dakota. They lowered income taxes in North Dakota for the top. And then these counties and townships really got the hammer. And basically, when even the governor, Burgum, straight up in his State of the State address said, property taxes are a local issue. And it's just not true. Your local government does put the mills and everything on your taxes. But a couple of years ago, what happened was the state legislators said that local tax assessors have to do an 80-hour state-mandated training. The state mandated this. But what they didn't do is give any of the townships any money to send their assessors to the training. So where did the assessors go? They went away because you couldn't afford them. Well, now here comes this great state trained person, and then he gets to come in and tell you what your property's worth, not your local assessor that you can have a cup of coffee with. And then basically, when this guy came to Driscoll, there was more people at that meeting than we even knew lived in the town that were really upset. And this was in 2016 when I ran in my local race, and since then it's went up another. I believe property taxes in North Dakota have gone up in somewhere between 12 and sometimes up to 40%.
Wow.
And they're telling us that these abandoned houses in townships like Driscoll, like the house across the street from me, we use it for our annual haunted house. A local club puts on an annual haunted house. A lot of fun should come up sometime. 700-800 people in a town of 30 is a great time always. But the state tried to say that house is worth $16,000. There's no utilities. You can't live there. There's the building is not usable. There's nothing, and we're just like, where did these guys come up with this stuff? And before that happened, before the state took away our local assessors, the township of Driscoll did not raise their taxes since 1986. And then here comes the almighty state, the ones that always complain about federal government overreach. They come in, they take away the township's rights and authority to tax themselves, and basically that's one more person we lose from our executive board. The next move they're trying to do is with there's this new thing coming out with CPAs. They're trying to mandate CPA training. Well, that's not for the government and stuff. These are just for private businesses. Okay, so what's going to stop you from, after you get that on to these private companies, to turn around and say, okay, we might as well make the townships do that, and we'll lose another executive board member. And they're basically trying to dissolve these townships and bring the authority to the county. And then you even have county people. Last year, I met the Republican House guy who overthrew he's a Republican, but he overthrew a Republican that was elected in the 70s in my district. And he was a county commissioner, and he says the same thing. You know, I had high hopes for him and lost some faith during the session. But I mean, it's just the local governments in North Dakota are getting throttled over and over and over by people who continually tell us that it's the federal government or it's this person. And when I go to the Capitol, it's clear as day what's going on. And, you know, that's why I'm here. You know, I mean, it's time for change, and, you know, it's going to take radical change for people to come together, people to come out of the woodworks, people that have never marched before, people have never voted, people have never sent a letter to the editor, emailed their legislators. It's going to take all of that. It's going to take a massive, massive force. And really, we are seeing it. It's not as strong in the midterm as it was last presidential cycle, but we are creating outlets in North Dakota for people to come in. And, you know, maybe it doesn't happen this time, but in 2020, we're actually going to have a structure that did not exist in 2016 because of people, Bernie delegates that stuck around, that you know, beat their head against the wall when they're talking to the establishment, and they just, you know, let it in one ear and out the other, and they keep working because it's difficult. It's very difficult to stand up to people who've been in power for so long and have this ideology that is really just leaving the middle class behind. You know, they're so worried that, well, this Democrat, you know, Heidi Heitkamp, well, she's better than Kramer, and that's good enough. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are starting to say, no, it's not. You know, we need a real change. We need alternatives, and you know, we need people to stand up.
I've got one more question. So I've got one more question for you, Dustin, and that's about.
Yep.
I mean, look, North Dakota, as I said, that was and I should have asked this earlier, but no DAPL, right? So you've got a large Native American population in that area. Am I correct in assuming? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty large.
I want to ask you about how you're going to help them as well, because look, the water protectors, there are people that have been on this land, some of their sacred sites, and things like that are getting overrun, like by these companies, by these pipeline companies. So, what do you plan to help them? How do you plan to help them, I should say? And how has the government failed in helping them?
Well, there isn't enough time in the rest of my life to talk about how badly our indigenous communities have been repeatedly not represented at any level of government outside of their own tribal council. I don't really believe that it's that as a non-indigenous person that I can really speak for folks. What we as a campaign have come up with is modeled after what was brought forward this year in North Dakota. Right now in North Dakota, we have a tribal relations committee where tribal chairmen or their appointees can sit in the committee. They can give input in the committee, but they cannot vote in the committee. So what Gretchen Dovrovich was trying to do was say that, okay, these representatives need a vote in the committee, at least. That's the least. I mean, we have to give a starting point. We have to create the table and open it up for Indigenous to come into, because there's just never been a place in Washington, in North Dakota. One of the most appalling things happened this last year was Al Carlson, the leader of the House leader of the Republicans, for the first time in the history of the state, canceled the tribal relations meeting that has happened since this state created. Every legislative biennium, all the tribes come in. They do a prayer ceremony at the Capitol for everyone, and this is all the tribes. And basically, Al Carlson canceled that meeting. I'm proud that Marvin Nelson sits on that committee. He was a Democratic governor candidate last year. He voted to allow the meeting, one of the three that did. And the Republican supermajority, once again, just basically closed their doors to the Indigenous community. Now, what my plan calls for is saying that we need statewide redistricting. Mm-hmm. We need to give reservations like Standing Rock, Fort Berthold, Siston, Turtle Mountain, and Spirit Lake. We need to give these places their own legislative districts within the state, so they can elect their own 2 senators and their own House rep for our state legislative body. And then we need to take that idea and expand it to the entire country, and states like North Dakota, where all the Indigenous communities would come together and elect 2 U.S. senators for Washington. They would elect 1 House member for Washington, and then South Dakota, they would do the same. New Mexico, Nebraska, all the states with Indigenous communities. We have to give these folks representation. We have to have them in our government, because folks like me that are non-Indigenous, I mean, I worked for 3 affiliated tribes with the fire management program for 5 years, and the things that I saw, it was incredible. And to think about folks who have dealt with this for generations, with little or no relief from non-Indigenous communities. I mean, we have to bring these folks in. We have to listen to them. We have to take their ideas serious, and we cannot continue to allow what's happened in the past. It's still going on today, and basically we have to give these folks a voice, and we have to bring them in, and that's my plan. That's what we could come up with is because I could tell you all day long that, yeah, I'm an Indigenous supporter, which I am, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But really, if we don't have Indigenous communities leading and saying and letting us know how we can make this world work better together, It's not going to come from the non-Indigenous community. It never has, and that's just a sad history, back to my grandfather helped build the Garrison Dam, and what that did was flood 3 affiliated tribes. They were forced to sell their land, and now you look at where I'm at today and inject it into politics, and I think about that, and it's like it goes back to what we said. People just want to work. My grandpa just wanted to work. He wasn't against the Indigenous community, but that's what happened when the two-party system came together on flood control. Was we're gonna drown the Native communities, and then we're gonna put people to work and spread propaganda. I mean, people want to work, and we have to get real Indigenous representation, because people like John Hoven, who sit on the Tribal Relations Committee, that's not representation. I mean, and that's really all I can say about it, because like I say, I'm not part of the Indigenous community, but I stand as a proud ally to try and do anything in my power to help these communities out.
And yeah, that's absolutely something that that we need to do. I mean, these people have been locked out for a very long time when it comes to representation. All right, hey, that's all the questions about policy and things like that. One more question here: how do people find you and help your campaign?
Well, you can look us up on Facebook. We got Dustin Peyer, United States Senate, PeyerForSenate.org. I got a Twitter handle @PeyerForSenate, and then we're also on Act Blue and CrowdPack. For those of you who still want to have hope with the Democratic Party, we have the Act Blue, and those of you who are over it, we have the CrowdPack. And really, what's been happening with the campaign is tremendous, because we've never really hired anybody. We've had people come in and help. They'll help with the event, they'll help the website, they'll help with different stages, and then they have to go back to their lives, because, like I said, we're a grassroots movement, and people are working 2 jobs. People have to take care of their sick parents. People have to take care of their kids. And that's the struggle with the grassroots. So anything that anyone can come in and help with, any little step is always a tremendous help and really appreciated, because we're not taking any dark money, I guess is what it's being referred to now. Like, I have no time for it, and we're just not going that way. So
We'll have the links to all that stuff to help out Dustin in the description of this video. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.